Secretary for Food and Health Ko Wing-man stressed today the government has already begun buying more stock for next winter's flu season. Hong Kong has more than 160,000 senior citizens aged 85 or above, and about 60,000 people live in elderly homes. They're all considered part of the high-risk group for influenza, yet only 100,000 doses of the new flu vaccine will be available locally. With another peak flu season expected in the summer, who gets the jab? Controller of the Centre for Health Protection, Leung Ting-hung, said more than 40,000 doses of the new vaccine will be given to residents of care homes. He said that covers about three-quarters of those living in elderly homes, which is in line with the government estimate of how many of them want to take the jab. The remaining 50,000 odd injections will be offered to other elderly people, with priority given according to the risk level of individuals. As for those who are at risk but unable to get a jab, Leung suggested that they wear medical masks in crowded areas and maintain a healthy lifestyle that includes exercise and a balanced diet. Secretary for Food and Health Ko Wing-man, who was a little under the weather himself today, said because authorities have only been able to acquire 100,000 jabs, they will have to offer the vaccine according to a risk priority system for now. But Ko added that they have begun buying more jabs. He's confident that by next winter, there will be a much larger stock available for the public.
To the United States now. A man wielding a machete and bug spray was shot and wounded after storming through a security checkpoint at New Orleans International Airport. Alan Buckner reports.
The scene was described as chaos. 63-year-old Richard White was in a Transportation Security Administration line where a TSA officer was checking boarding passes and asked him for his ticket.
The response was he pulled a can of wasp spray and sprayed the officer in the face. He proceeded past that checkpoint and encountered the second TSA officer and a third TSA officer almost simultaneously. One was a female, one was a male. He sprayed the male in the face.
Norman said it was at that point that White pulled out a machete hidden under his belt. One TSA agent blocked the machete with a piece of luggage as White stormed through the metal detector. He started chasing the female TSA agent, and a police officer at the scene drew her weapon.
The law enforcement officer proceeded down the exit line to come around, coming in very close contact to the individual with a machete, and that officer fired 3 times.
White was hit in the face, chest, and leg. He was taken to hospital where he underwent surgery. A bystander and another officer were grazed slightly by the bullets. Other bystanders, scrambling to escape the mayhem, received some minor cuts and bruises. Investigators are still trying to figure out what drove White to launch the bizarre attack. They're not even sure why he was at the airport, because it didn't appear that he had a ticket for any flight. The Transportation Security Administration was created in the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attacks to provide tighter security at airports. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
Elsewhere in the Americas, 10 people were killed in a gunfight in western Mexico yesterday when suspected gang members ambushed a police convoy. Mexico's federal police said gunmen ambushed a group of police special forces. 5 officers, 3 suspected gang members and 2 bystanders were killed. 8 other officers were injured. Most of the gunmen escaped. The officers were patrolling the town of Ocotlan, southeast of the state capital, Guadalajara, at the time of the attack. The region has been plagued by violence among rival drug gangs.
Pope Francis has removed the rights and privileges of the former head of the Catholic Church in Scotland, who admitted sexual misconduct and resigned 2 years ago. Cardinal Keith O'Brien, who was once Britain's most senior cleric, also promised to play no further part in the public life of the Church in Scotland. The move came after 3 priests and 1 former priest complained about incidents of sexual misconduct in the 1980s. O'Brien eventually said his sexual conduct had fallen below the standards expected of a priest and apologized. The Vatican investigated the case and said the 77-year-old had gone through a long period of prayer. The Pope's ruling means Obrai will retain the title of cardinal but will no longer advise the Pope or take part in any future conclaves to elect a new leader for the world's 1.2 billion Catholics. To the latest in Greece's bailout talks, the European Union has committed €2 billion to help Athens deal with what's described as a humanitarian crisis hitting Greeks. The money will not be linked to international loans, keeping the country afloat. Instead, it will be used as aid for people and companies.
A disorderly Greek exit from the euro remains a major threat to Europe's economic stability, and it could be very damaging to the British economy. That's why I've urged my Eurozone colleagues to resolve this crisis.
Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras praised the EU decision. The latest financial pledge came after European leaders told Tsipras to come up with a raft of budget cuts and tax increases in the next few days before Greece gets more bailout money from Europe. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has signalled some flexibility on what reforms Athens would have to make. All right, Tony, over to you for sports.
That's right, and it's an excellent result for the Black Caps down in New Zealand, Hamilton. The Cricket World Cup semi-final lineup is complete after co-host New Zealand dominated the West Indies today. The Kiwis' Martin Guptill was the star of the show, producing a stellar batting performance at the crease.